This is episode 33 of Hands on Health, the podcast all about living your healthiest life on the coast. I'm your host, Felicia Struve. My guests today are from CMH Diabetes Education Services.
Hi, my name is Arna Vanebo, and I am a dietitian at Columbia Memorial Hospital.
Hi, I'm Melissa Morris. I'm a dietitian and diabetes educator from Columbia Memorial Hospital.
Arna and Melissa lead a research-based program to help people with prediabetes build healthier habits so they can reduce their risk of developing full-blown diabetes. And there's no better time to start. CMH is offering the program free to the group that starts on July 14th, 2021. Welcome, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Hands on Health. Well, welcome. I'm glad to have you on the podcast.
Thanks.
So today we are talking about it's not brand new, as I learned recently. We're talking about a program called the Diabetes Prevention Program that you've been doing in the county for a while, but the exciting thing about it now is that there is a group that can do this for free for the next year.
Correct.
So let's talk about it. Let's share what this is. What is the Diabetes Prevention Program?
So like Felicia said, we've offered this program. We've had 3 cohorts already. It was offered through another entity in the community, and now we've decided to take it on as a hospital and do our own program. And so, like you said, we are offering this first cohort it's a year-long program. We're offering it free for the first year just to see how many people we can get and see if it's a good opportunity to offer it more often for the community. The program, it's based on a CDC-recognized program, and they've done a lot of research. And so the program is used to hopefully prevent type 2 diabetes. It's for people with prediabetes. So there's a lot of aspects to it that we will talk about, but it's based on a lifestyle change program.
Okay. And what is prediabetes?
Prediabetes is, the way I always describe it, you're on the path to developing type 2 diabetes. So we're seeing some more elevated blood sugars, but not at a point where we would diagnose diabetes. But it's a good opportunity usually, and that's why we like the program. It's an opportunity to maybe make some changes, see if we can get those blood sugars back down into a more normal range and prevent you from getting type 2 diabetes and some of the complications that can come with type 2 diabetes.
So is it fair to say that diabetes is a spectrum that's defined by your blood sugar levels, and that there's like this normal, what we consider normal range because you're not having adverse effects from it. And then you get this kind of like middle range where you might start having problems. And then you have like full on diabetes where you're at risk of all kinds of things. Is that a good way to look at it?
Yeah, you can kind of look at it that way. I mean, pretty much our bodies try to maintain our blood sugars in a normal range. And so prediabetes is where the body's having a harder time kind of managing those blood sugars. You probably won't have too many complications or even feel like you feel bad, like you're feeling the high blood sugar effects. As the blood sugars get more elevated and type 2 diabetes develops, there can be more complications that arise from that. And so that's why we want to kind of catch you before you even get to that stage. We want to, prediabetes is that point where you can make changes and kind of steer away from the cliff in a way. So.
Okay. So it's like you're doing damage, but you're not even aware that you're doing damage to your body.
Exactly.
And at some point that damage becomes irreparable or, much more serious.
That's exactly it.
So a logarithmic scale, not linear.
Yes.
Okay. So if people can have prediabetes and not be aware of it, what are some risk factors or some reasons why we might check with our doctor about whether or not we have prediabetes?
There are certain risk factors, of course, that can lead to diabetes. Some are, when you're maybe overweight, there may be some family history of diabetes. For women, if they have a history of gestational diabetes, that increases the risk of developing type 2 diabetes in the future. If you're inactive, so there's a lot of different risk factors. So I think it's always good to get screened by the doctor just to kind of see where you're at with things, especially if you have the family history, you know. There's also a screen test that you can do through the CDC to see, you know, are you at risk for developing prediabetes? That can also be a good indicator and maybe a good starting off point. And if you notice that, oh yeah, I'm kind of at risk, that is something you can start the conversation with your doctor to kind of see maybe further testing, blood work and things like that to kind of go from there. So.
Okay. Do you need a blood test that says you have high blood sugar in order to do this program?
So yes, in order to do the program, there's several things that we need. One is you can have blood tests done by your doctor that say that you are pre-diabetic. If you've had gestational diabetes in the past and your doctor has put that in as a diagnosis, then you can do that. And it can be any time in your life that you've had gestational diabetes, even if you were 25 when you had the baby and you're 60 now. The other was the positive screening, like Melissa said, with the prediabetes CDC screening. Those are kind of the three markers they look at. If you have been diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 diabetes already, then you are not eligible for the program. Obviously, the program's based on trying to prevent that. So those are kind of the three things we look at. People can self-refer themselves, but they do have to have blood results from their doctor.
So if somebody was looking back on, maybe they've got some lab reports from a doctor's visit for the last couple of years, and they're looking for something in particular that tells them about blood sugar, what is that test? What is the number that they're looking for?
So it would be your fasting glucose level. Glucose is just a fancy name for sugar, but the fasting glucose levels is what we kind of look at. And typically if it's above 100, but no higher than 126, that would be that pre-diabetic range. Another lab test that they look at is the hemoglobin A1C test, which kind of tells us blood sugar ranges over the last few months. And an A1C of 5.7 to 6.4% is in that pre-diabetic range. So those are kind of the two main tests that they look at.
Okay, so fasting glucose of between 100 and 126, and A1C between
5.7 to 6.4%.
Okay.
But we can help anybody who's, you know, like, I don't know if I meet it or not. So they can always call us and we can, you know, we know those details. Not everybody will know those little insights to that.
Yeah, no, perfect. So call if you're at all unsure. Okay. So tell me about the program. What, Arna, you mentioned it's a lifestyle program. What does that mean? What, if somebody signs up, what can they expect?
So like I said before, it's a year-long program. It's really based on trying to change our behaviors. A lot of us tend to, you know, we have habits and we've learned these habits over a long period of time, and it's trying to change those to healthier habits. And so we meet for the first 16 weeks, we meet once a week, and this is a group session. And then after that first 16 weeks, we do a bi-monthly for 15 weeks. So it's a full year program. Every class, we give out a binder and we give out handouts every class. So they get new materials. We do different activities that you would be working with potentially other people on or yourself, and just brainstorming, I think, is a big part of it, and working together and getting ideas from all the other members. So the group, for most people, I think the group really is a beneficial part because they get to collaborate with others and learn from them and see what works for other people and try those out themselves. And the focus of the program is we do a lot of tracking. Tracking is one of our main things because our goal is 7% weight loss. That's CDC for everyone. So we track our food intake. And then the other is increasing physical activity to at least 150 minutes per week. So, you know, it could be 5 30-minute sessions a week, or it could be, sometimes we even tell people, as long as you can get 10 minutes at a time, get that heart rate up, that's what we want to happen. So if you can only do 10-minute increments during the day, that's fine too. But trying to be more physically active, trying to move our bodies more. So those are the two main things we focus on, is our physical activity and our food intake. But I think we learn a lot about stressors and things that may potentially cause us to eat differently, or, maybe we're not being as mindful of what we're eating on a daily basis. With COVID, I think a lot of us may have changed our behaviors, and we may need to just get back on track. So I think it's a good time to maybe get back on track and get started on improving our health and our overall well-being, and just feel better about ourselves potentially too. So it's a year-long program, and we're going to offer it both virtually and in person. So hopefully people will be able to do one or the other and get to enjoy a group setting and learn from other people and meet some people maybe to do activity with too.
Yeah, well, I know I see you guys walking during the day around the hospital. For me, it's the same thing. It's like, if I have somebody that will go with me, I'm much more likely to get out, to get moving, not to get in my head and go, oh, I have so much to do, or whatever it is. We have all these excuses. So I think some people might be kind of nervous about a group setting, but then there's also, like you said, Arna, finding people that you can do things with. I think that's super valuable to have somebody who supports you and is going for the same things.
Yeah, we've seen that.
And we always...
Sorry. I was going to say, we've seen that in our other groups, like Arna said, we've done a couple groups. You really do support each other and come up with ideas. And, it is meant to be a nice group setting where you feel safe to talk about your problems and what issues you might be having. And that way you can kind of get ideas, bounce ideas off of others. And hey, the others, they know exactly what you're going through. So it's kind of helpful for that.
Hey there, it's Felicia. Thanks for listening. I'd love to include your questions or comments in an upcoming episode. To leave me a message, please call 503-338-4654. If you've got a health question, I'll do my best to get you an expert answer. Again, that number is 503-338-4654. Now let's get back to our guest.
For the folks who've done this before, what have they been surprised about?
Well, I think the biggest surprise for people is portion sizes. They're just always amazed at what a portion size looks like. In our previous classes, I just remember a couple different people being very excited and just amazed at what they've learned about their portions. Because I think, like I've said before in the past, cereal, like we go and we pour a giant bowl of cereal and we don't really realize what a serving size is of cold cereal. So, usually it's about a cup or less, and people are doing a lot more than that. And I think it's just eye-opening. It really makes you think about what you're doing on a daily basis, how often you're eating, because when they're tracking, they're writing when they're eating, what time they're eating, how much they're eating. And I think some people we see skip breakfast often, but then they're snacking or eating more later in the evening, which is obviously not the best habit. And so I think it's trying to learn and develop new habits, new healthier habits, so that they can improve themselves and feel better about what they're doing.
Well, and also diabetes brings with it a whole host of complications and problems that if you can avoid that, you're just better off all around. Your entire body is better off.
Yeah, I agree. I think, even some of the things that we're trying to do, yes, it's about preventing diabetes, but it's not just about that. The class is focused on health. So we're trying to, mostly the diabetes focus, but it's about, improving all aspects of our health. So I think focusing on the healthy eating, focusing on the physical activity is important for everybody. So I really hope people take advantage of the program.
Okay, so if somebody is hearing this and they say, it's time, I know I've got these bad habits. I've been emotionally using food to deal with my anxiety over the last year, or my loneliness, and I know it's just getting bad. I need to do something. What's their next step?
So they can give us a call and talk with one of us regarding this. My phone number, if anyone is listening, is 503-338-7592. You can give us a call. You can email. we would need, obviously, we don't have to have a referral from a doctor, but it's beneficial just to have that information from your doctor. We will have to get labs, but I think just calling us, getting signed up is the first part of it, or calling your provider and having them send a referral. The classes is hoping to start July 14th, and we're going to be having class from 5 to 6 p.m. Correct. And it will be in the pavilion here on the CMH campus, up on the 3rd floor in the conference room up there. And again, if you're doing virtual, we'll be sending out links so that you can join us virtually for those meetings so that you're involved with the whole group setting too. I think having the virtual option is good for people, especially, with COVID, still some people not being as anxious to go out and be in groups. I think it's a good option. They'll get the same information. We'll send them the handouts ahead of time, so they'll get all the same information virtually too.
Well, and virtual is, if you have to drive a long way to get here at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, right after work, that can be difficult. So hopefully virtual will make it easier for those folks too.
I agree. Yeah. And, and especially as we get into the winter months too, it's nice for people to have that option, just because some people don't want to drive when the conditions are bad outside. So I think it's a great option for people.
Yeah. Well, Melissa, I would love to have you share your why not statement. Why not do this?
Yeah, for me, it's like, you have nothing to lose except for pounds, right? Free, like we've mentioned. And yeah, it is a time commitment, but, I think you'll get a lot of benefit from it. So like I said, why not join and try it out? And like I said, worst that happens is hopefully you lose a few pounds. So
Right. And for anybody who has at some point lost 5-10 pounds and you see how much better you feel, 7% is ambitious, but not unrealistic. If you're 200 pounds, that's 14 pounds.
Exactly. So that's why they make it very reasonable. And so, like I said, it's not that it's the easiest program, but, that's what we're here to support you with. And, but it's definitely a realistic goal that we try to achieve in these classes. So yeah. I think, it's worthwhile trying.
Well, and, I'm just speaking from my own experience as someone who has not been to a gym for a long time, or, you've had a couple kids since you last considered yourself an athlete. Those settings can be really intimidating. And this sounds very approachable, very doable. Like you said, a lot of people who are in the same boat and know what you're going through.
Exactly.
I agree. Yes. And our past classes, we've had some great groups, and I think they really enjoyed getting to meet other people kind of in their same situation. And we've had great successes. We had someone in our first class almost over 40 pounds, I think. So, we have had some great successes, and I think that's why it's CDC approved. And I think, it is all about changing those lifestyle habits and trying to just improve your overall health. It's not like a diet where you're dieting and you're just on this strict regimen. It's actually learning new ways to cope with your behaviors.
Well, and you think about somebody who loses 40 pounds and they're doing it through eating well and moving more. They're not doing it on a diet that they can't sustain, or that makes it hard for them to go to parties or have holiday meals. I don't know. Whenever somebody's doing some really strict diet, it seems like that's got to be terrible to do anything socially. And we all want to be social right now.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And actually, a lot of those scenarios we discuss in class, how to kind of work through the holidays. How do we, try to stay healthy when we're going to a party, and especially if we are able to get together more often here, So, the exact types of things that we bring up in class, and we try to work through those issues so that way you can feel more confident going into those things and to still be healthy and active. That's why we like the program, because it's not just about, okay, this is what you're going to eat. It's about, how do we change some of those habits and work around some of the, special things that come up that we need maybe a little extra help and support for.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if considering that it's starting in July, people have about 6 months to really get into the groove and be motivated before they hit, Thanksgiving and Christmas, which hopefully we'll all be able to be with our family and friends for those holidays this year. So yeah, we'll be on a good track by then.
Yes, summertime tends to be a better time to start too, because people are able to get moving better outside, do those kind of things, and have a plan in place before we get into those winter months, I think is a good idea. So this is a perfect time of the year to start the program.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing more about the program. And I'll put some information in the description for how to get a hold of these ladies and how to sign up, because it's definitely worth it. Just feel better, be healthier. Yay!
Exactly.
And they're both on mute and laughing with you guys.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Felicia Struve, and this has been an episode of Hands on Health, brought to you by Columbia Memorial Hospital in Astoria, Oregon. CMH is an independent, not-for-profit health system that provides comprehensive, person-centered care in Northwest Oregon.